So a big part of Throne Liberty is getting your settings right, and what I mean by right is it means right for you. So I'm going to go through some of the settings that I think are quite important to take a look into, and maybe they'll help you as well. We won't go through every single setting, but we'll go through some of the core ones that I think will get you on your way. Now, the reason we want to talk about this is because there is a lot of people that when they first play Throne Liberty have not a great experience, and a lot of that is down to how your settings are set up for your character and your playstyle. And I'll be honest with you, the default settings in this game are just, they're pants. They're really pants, and they probably should do something about it. But let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is probably switch up your UI. Now this will change over time as you get a bit more experience with the game and you find out where you want things, but this is how I have mine set up. Now, I don't use the Astral vision, for example, and that's on the far left. Some people have that a bit more prominent. I've got my kill feed at the front because I'm normally raid leading. I want to see how well we're performing. I have my item collections on the right there, character names on the right, party quite close on the left, so I can see how my party members are doing when we're quite a frontline party. So if we're struggling, I know I need to really start to take a quick look at the guild. My character, my skill bars, and then a few bits underneath. Definitely spend a few minutes on this and keep tweaking this as you play the game. Alright, let's get into the actual settings. So the first one and the most important one really is action versus classic. Classic is where you right click your mouse to move your screen and you can select targets by left clicking them. Action is when you have your mouse to move your character left and right. Now I think in smaller scale battles, action's more fun, it feels more enjoyable, it feels more modern. Action, on the other hand, is let's assume that there is 20-30 people in front of me here. I want to kill Hilda because she's DPSing me as a range on the back. I can pull my chain hook, I can select her, and I'm not action targeting through her. Now you can change those settings, but I just personally find it a lot easier in large scale PvP to select who I want. So the first thing is skill buffer. Essentially what this does is it queues up your skills. It's been quite nice on the KR servers because it's been quite laggy, so if you miss one or something's queued or you run out of mana, then this essentially creates a queue system. I think I'm going to have it off for global, but definitely have a quick look at this because it might help you. And auto move to attack target I've left off as well. If you head to character on the left, you'll then see an option here for large scale combat mode. I just leave this on the whole time. I mean, you can leave it on the whole time, but you can also leave it as auto use. We'll leave it as always use. This might be important to you if you start to use the Astral vision. Astral vision essentially scans the area and puts all of the characters or players or whatever you select in a box, and then you can auto attack those particular players. So if you're calling out names because you're a assassin squad, that could be quite useful to you. So either way, that's fine. The next is the show skill effects. Now we're currently parked in a forest under some trees using Starlink in our van, and every now and then Starlink isn't beaming through the trees, obviously, so we're getting some disconnects. It's my fault, but here we are having a bit of a detox pre-global and recording some content. Okay, we're back in. So if we head back to our character screen here, this is quite important depending on your particular PC. Now what you might want to do before you do all this is head to graphics. We'll go through this in a second. Head to quality and do auto settings just to see what comes up initially. I don't think this changed. I think these are all by default, but just do that to get yourself started. But essentially this shows skill effects. Now I personally want to see my guild member animations. A lot of people only go for my animations or party member animations, and you get rid of the enemy animations. If your PC can handle it, I recommend showing all the animations because then you get to see what's going on and you can be a bit more of aware of what's happening. But I've run with guild member only. Following on from that, which will also help performance but also your visual while fighting, mainly large scale PvP again, is to show character names. Now you can change this to just simplify all, but what we've gone for is user settings here. Alright, Elon Musk, come on. I want to see more hostile characters than I do guild characters, so I could just turn them all off. I don't want to see them all. I'll only see like the small element of it. I actually personally don't mind having Jack's annoyed. I actually personally don't mind having them all on, especially as someone who is on the front line calling targets and whatnot. I've just left all of them on, and the reason is mainly for that. I want to see all the enemy characters as much as I can, because it's very, very helpful when targeting and looking at different guilds and looking at different players. And once you get to know the server, that can have a big impact on where you move your guild to certain points. So that one's mainly for me, but I would recommend having a play around with this and reducing the amount of nameplates you see, because that will also help with performance and also show on your screen a bit more easier on where you're moving and navigating through these large scale battles. A funny one which you may want to turn on or off, this is again mainly for large scale combat: turn off showing others show others amateurs. Essentially what this does is when you're in a group of 500 people, let's say in a siege, you can just turn this off and it will again help with performance by not showing 500 mini pets on the battlefield. Just completely unneeded. The next big setting, which no matter what I say here, I do suggest you have a play around with this to see what suits you, but these are the settings I'm currently using. Remember, I'm using this as like a frontline bruiser tank, focusing mainly on large scale PvP. So the target selection method is search by order of priority. Now what we want to do is, let's assume that we're on the front line with someone toe to toe. My target selection, if you press tab, will essentially target the person that's toe to toe with you. A lot of people turn off attacking players and attacking monsters and just focus on hostile guilds and feud players, because sometimes in large scale PvP you're focusing on one guild versus one guild, and you have the odd player here or there might start attacking you. But I've left attacking players on, we've turned off attacking monsters, then we've gone hostile guild, feud players, hostile players, then elite bosses and monsters, and then the rest. So if there's no players nearby, we're going to start hitting the mobs, and for that, for me, it's totally fine. Auto target when attacking. Now I've been playing around with this. Now what this should do is when attacking in classic mode, automatically selects the target the mouse cursor is pointing to if there's no selected target. So if I want to use an ability that is a targeted ability to someone on the back line, if I'm trying to select them and I'm too old and I can't click it, my mouse is over it, it should target that person for me without me actually clicking it. Sometimes it's very chaotic and I don't know exactly how well this works, but I've left it on for now and definitely would suggest giving it a try. This again is mainly focused around the auto target and attacking. I've just left this by distance for now. I don't particularly use the auto target too much, if I'm honest with you, and I haven't played around with it. But again, very similar to the target selection. Give this a little bit of a play and see how you feel while using these different settings. And then onto the graphics and the quality. This will obviously depend on you. I play windowed because I have my chat slightly on the right. I've got quite a big monitor, and I did limit my frame rate to 60 FPS. You might want to drop it to 120, 144, but because I stream most of the time, I just limited it just because it's okay for me, and especially because we're always frontlining it with character limits at full and just pushing the boundaries if we can. Again, this would depend on you personally. But if we head down to the quality, this is what I was mentioning earlier. If you click auto settings and you can work from there, I found that medium works quite well for me. It still looks nice. I mean, if you were to put the whole thing to epic, you'll see that just the game is just so clean. It's so crispy. I think it's probably put motion blur and stuff on now, but it's just so good. When you come in close to the quality of the character and it's just smart. But anyway, I found, for me personally, running mostly on medium, and then I upped some of the things that I personally wanted to up. So view distance was important for me to be on epic. Character count was important to me to be on epic. Character count you might want to tweak as you play the game. So if you're in a castle siege and there is 2,000 people, you might want to lower that down to high or medium, depending on your particular PC. Everything else is kind of just left to medium. I mean, don't need that on high. Veg quality, it really depends on your personal preference. Depth of field I've turned off. Motion blur will turn off. Lens flare is completely up to you. The rest of this stuff, it doesn't matter too much in my opinion. Just leave them all on medium. But these ones do matter, especially for performance. There is a setting in the game where you can have individual hair strands. Now if you don't do much large scale PvP, just leave it on. Like, why not, right? But most of us, you want to turn this off, and then you want to have the optimized for large scale combat selected. The rest is kind of sound and your personal shortcuts and bits and bobs, HUD UI size, and just stuff that again is completely personal preference, but none of that in there will really make a massive difference for you, apart from, if I can find it, is the Astral Vision targeting. Now if you start to use the Astral Vision, think about coming into here and using the target options. So maybe you've got an MMO mouse where you can have a bunch of buttons on it, or maybe Alt 1 2 3 4. If you see Astral Vision and you see someone's name within this within the Astral Vision, oops, wrong button. Why is my shield on my feet? What the Astral Vision do is will scan the area, and if you see any, well, there'll be members or opposition nearby, it will show them up on this screen here. You can then have shortcuts to target those particular people. Pretty important. But yeah, everything else is relatively straightforward, but definitely suggest giving those options a try. What have I done? I broke the game. Definitely suggest giving those options a try, because they can make a real difference, especially for PvP, especially for large scale PvP. There is definitely more, so if you guys have any options or suggestions for different settings that would help everybody, please leave them on the comments below or drop a message in our Discord. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Throne Liberty.